Good morning. Welcome. The open carry ruling could be major changes for South Florida, but we begin with this week's collective gut check on political violence and the consequences of what we have become. South Florida's reaction to the assassination of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk, who built a brand on being provocative or, depending on your perspective, deeply offensive. Those expecting the assassin to be an unhinged left-wing extremist might have been bowled over to learn about the person arrested, a 22-year-old honor student with a comfortable upbringing in a close-knit, God-fearing Republican family. And that makes the question even more urgent. What have we become? And more important, where are we going?
Political violence is different than any other type of violence. That freedom of expression that is enshrined in our founding documents, in having his life taken in that very act, makes it more difficult for people to feel like they can share their ideas, that they can speak freely.
Reaction in South Florida, immediate, from lawmakers calling for change, among them Miami Congresswoman Maria Salazar. Congresswoman Maria Salazar joining us right now. Congresswoman, great to see you.
Wonderful to be with you.
I want to start out with you with the news of the week and the investigation into what we now do know is a political assassination of Charlie Kirk. And you were among the first to really get on calling for the resignation of a local council person who posted something pretty insensitive right off the bat. You know, the Utah governor now calls this a watershed moment. And where do we go from here? What have we learned? What do you think?
Well, I think that, and thank you for the opportunity, the councilman from Palmetto Bay made a very egregious and toxic comment about Charlie Kirk. In this country, in the United States, you do not kill anybody for what they think, period. That happens in the banana republics. And I can speak very loudly and clearly about that idea because, you know, I represent district number 27, where we have hundreds of thousands of people, Colombians and Hondurans and Nicaraguans and Venezuelans, who have left their countries of origin because of that, precisely, because people get killed for what they think. Look at just what happened in Colombia, that one of their presidential contenders was shot and had died, not in the United States of America.
Yeah, so the political rhetoric, I mean, we've been in the newsroom, we've been going through the history of political rhetoric recently. Yeah. There is no party that is not guilty of that, and the extremes to the most part. But what we found was a lot of what President Trump has said in the past has been pretty inflammatory. Again, nobody, you know, he has survived assassination attempts. That is never a thing. But do you think that the lessons learned should apply all the way up the chain to everyone in this country to dial back and try a little more understanding rather than a little more fighting?
Of course, we are living a very difficult political moment. And I agree with the fact that in Congress, we should lead that force, or we should lead that way. And everyone, specifically on the floor, should come down, and the political rhetoric that brings violence needs to be dialed down.
Were you on the floor?
In the United States.
Yeah. Were you on the floor of Congress this week?
I was on the floor
after the moment of silence for Charlie Kirk. What do you make of that?
Mike Johnson. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened as a good news reporter. I was there. We were voting. Mike Johnson was had the gavel in his hand, and he asked for a moment of silence. And we all participated in that moment. And then after that moment passed, then Lauren Boebert asked for another moment of prayer. And that is when we had the reaction from the other side.
Let's wait a minute. The House will be in order. The House will be in order. Shh.
The reaction from what we heard is the reaction from both sides got pretty ugly.
Well, it happens sometimes on the floor, and I have seen it in other instances, not only when we're talking about Charlie Kirk, but I can say to you that at least on the GOP side, it has shocked us, because then we all look at ourselves and we say, well, who could we be next? That cannot happen in this country just because you're representing a party, just because you are within that political group, that you are in the right or in the left. It doesn't matter. That is the problem that we have right now, and we need to address the situation we're living. My question is, how do we do it? And I was asking my staff, how can we lead the voice? I'm one of the most bipartisan members of Congress because I represent, I'm the only swing district in the state of Florida. I represent everybody, the Dems, the Independents, and the Republicans. And that is what this country is all about. We are politically sound. We are people that respect political ideas. We're losing that. And look what's happening. We got to dial back.
Yeah, I want to, you mentioned you have such a swing district. You do. And, there are a lot of people in the district, especially very liberal Democrats, who are really angry at some of your votes in Congress, especially for this budget that takes away Medicare money. How do you address them?
Look, I don't think that we're taking, that's not the way I see it. And when you tell me, because you voted against Medicaid. No, we voted against Medicaid, the fraud, abuse, and waste within Medicaid. We all know that no one administers money worse or in a bad fashion as government. I would rather give, the private sector administers money much better than the bureaucrats. So what we're doing is that we're cleaning up the sheets, we're cleaning up the lists, but we're not taking one penny away from those who need it. And that I know, and the audience, the constituents will see it along the way from now until next year. No one is going to be affected. And if someone in District 27 is going to be affected, that is on Medicaid and needs it, should call me.
Okay. There is the invitation. I want to, I know in the short time we have together, I want to talk about so many of your constituents are, you mentioned before, from countries right now that are really in the crosshairs, seem to be, of the U.S. government, and specifically the Venezuelan issue at the moment is multi-level. I want to talk to you about the bombing, literally, of a boat with 11 people on it that the U.S. government said was a drug boat that they took out. We have gotten precious little information or evidence to help the American people understand exactly what happened. Do you know something that you can clear that up?
This is what I know. We know that Maduro is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. That's a fact. Number two, we know that Maduro is the head of El Cartel de los Soles, or the Sons Cartel, which is a criminal organization that does drug trafficking. That's their business. So we know that he's not the legitimate president because he lost the elections 70-30, and Maria Corina Machado, who won that election, Maduro is still in the presidential palace. We know that. We also know that he has been heading, since I was on television, we're talking about the last 25 years, these people meaning the Venezuelan military.
But take me to those 11 people on the boat. And we can talk a bigger picture of the Maduro government in a moment.
Yes,
those 11 people on that boat.
What are you doing on a boat that is bringing fentanyl and drugs to the United States?
But how do we know that? That's my question. Where is the evidence?
We do know that boat was full of drugs. And look, haven't you seen any other? I haven't seen any other attack, because I think that Maduro understands that they need to stop trafficking for now.
So
and
you're
that
comfortable.
Is why we have.
You're comfortable that those people were committing a crime and heading, who knows where were they heading with what
Glenna,
on board? We've seen no specifics.
I know that we know that boat was full of drugs. You cannot be in the drug trafficking business because there's a lot of risk for you, whomever you are, to do that. And much less if you are on the crosshairs like the Maduro regime is right now, because we have advised him and alerted him that he is in the crosshairs.
Would you support going in with U.S. military and taking out Nicolas
would
Maduro,
support
and taking
very-
out, by taking out, I mean in person, arrested?
I would support a very tailored, quick in and out if it were to be needed, our boots on the ground. That's what I would support. I do know that Maduro has to go, whether it's through negotiations, whether it's boot on the ground, is any way, but we're talking about something quick in and out because he needs to go. You know why he needs to go? Because Maduro's first, and then it's Cuba, and then it's Nicaragua, because we do not need communist dictators in the hemisphere because they don't bring anything good for those people.
Square for me now, Venezuela, not a safe place to live for so many people, and yet the temporary protected status that Venezuelans now have in the United States, canceled, reinstated by the courts, still with an expiration date. How do you square lifting those protections?
I am the immigration, that's my lane in Congress. I have presented the Dignity Act, which I have been saying to the White House and to the whole GOP conference, that there is no way that we can be sending anyone back to Venezuela when we have a bounty on Maduro's head for $50 million. We have 11 ships on the coasts of Venezuela. We need to make sure that those people stay in the United States until Venezuela is free.
Have you talked to the president about that?
I have, those are things that I cannot really say on television, but I'm telling you that I am that voice, and I am like a woodpecker when it's about immigration, because I know what's good. I know that those people are here because for some reason because for the reason that we know they need to flee Venezuela. And now it's time to deport the illegals who are criminals. I've always been saying this. If you're a criminal, you have to go. But if you are not a criminal, then we need to give you the chance to live a dignified life in the promised land if you do not have a criminal record and you have been here for many years. And that is the dignity law, which I've reported so many times. And I am sure it will become law sooner rather than later.
We have talked about it a lot. I look forward to talking to you about it as it moves and when we hope it will. Always interesting to talk to you, and I thank you again.
My blessings to you. Thank you for the opportunity.